All right, so welcome everyone to our webinar on boosting cyber resilience and business continuity. Today, I'm happy to be talking about how VAST Data and Superna's latest partnership and integration can help enhance the security posture of your organization in the face of evolving threats like ransomware. So this integrated, unified approach to cybersecurity can help not only detect and neutralize threats in real time, but it also gives you rapid recovery to keep your operations running smoothly. And lastly, I just want to point out that while defense is an important aspect of this solution, it's important to understand that this solution also empowers you to take proactive measures to avoid threats altogether, and also equip you with the confidence needed to make the most intelligent recoveries so you can protect both the data and reputation of your business. So before we get started, just some, of course, my PowerPoint is not behaving, just some logistical things to cover. We have deep subject matter experts on the line from both Superna and from the VAST side. We like to keep these as interactive and as technical as possible. We really hope and we're optimistic that we're going to hear from you. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please use the Q&A section of Zoom webinars, and we'll do our very best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Secondly, throughout the webinar, we have 2 or 3 very short and simple poll questions planned. And we kindly ask that you take a moment to read through the questions and give us your input. It's going to be multiple choice, and we really appreciate your insights as it really helps us better understand your views and your thoughts and your experiences with the questions that we ask. So thank you for your attention to those. So I'm honored. First, I just realized I didn't introduce myself. So I'm Mike Pacheco, Senior Product Marketing Manager. I'm with VAST Data. I'm honored to be joined by this rockstar panel of speakers. We have our 2 partners from Superna, Andrew McKay and Derek Manning. Andrew, can you take a brief moment and tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Andrew McKay, I'm the CTO and CSO of Superna. I'm in year 15, so happy to be here and talk about my favorite topic these days.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It's a pleasure to have you. Derek, can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. Derek Manning, Vice President of Global Pre-Sales here at Superna, beginning year 13. Worked with Andrew for a number of years before here as well. But former storage admin, CIO, IT specialist, and principal product architect, and now here to speak to you about our solutions.
Wonderful, Derek, and it's a pleasure to have you as well. Thank you for your support. And Niloy, of course, he's our Director of Solution Engineering. Niloy, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me today, and to our guests from Superna. So I lead AIHP Solutions Engineering at VAST. We are privileged to be having a tremendous amount of success in that space. And part of what we are hearing for our customers is the need for more enterprise capabilities that can promote the resilience of our solutions. And so hence the partnership with Superna, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you very much, Niloy. So without further ado, let's kick things off. And Andrew, can you take us away?
Yeah, I'm not going to read all this to everyone, but it's a good proof point that the approach over the last many years to preventing ransomware needs improvement. I think there's more per day showing up in the news than ever before. So clearly, a modern approach to cybersecurity and reducing impact on data is needed. And so data. Well, the attackers want your data. They don't want your switches, your routers, your firewalls. So it just made sense to us in working with VAST that why don't we look at a solution that addresses data security at the data layer, and let's see what we can do there to get rid of all these news alerts about another ransomware attack. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So some of the key stats, I'm sure we've all been inundated by this. It's increasing. I'm sure 2024 is on the same trajectory that 2023 was. What's some of the interesting things that are happening? There's obviously ransomware, but there's now data exfiltration. So you now have to worry about more things than you ever did before. And the numbers are staggering in that the bad actors out there are making money. And as long as they're making money, this will not stop. So if you look at your insurance premiums for cyber insurance, they're going up. Maybe an approach is spend some of that insurance money on better protecting your infrastructure. And so we think that this is a great way to mitigate the cost of ransomware by spending in the one area the attackers are attacking, which is your data. That's quite the trajectory. It almost doubling every few years here. As you can see, the cost of ransomware is enormous. I remember we used to be talking about ransomware attacks for every 11 seconds, which is already a crazy, mind-boggling. We've been talking now, and there's been a few of them already while talking. That hits every 2 seconds. So clearly there needs to be a change in the approach to protecting business critical data. And we think cyber storage, which we'll be talking more about, is an integral component of that. In addition to that, though, the attackers automate the attack. So you need to automate your defense. And defense is not a great term. Defense means passive. You need to be on offense. And offensive detection is what we're going to talk about here, because defense, we've been playing defense for years and it hasn't worked out that well. So let's go on offense. And so we're going to spend some time talking about what offensive cyber storage protection looks like. So, what does your environment look like? Well, every environment has endpoint protection. That's been around, I think, since we had the first computer. So endpoint protection software is not new. Network security, also not new. It's been there for years. Application layer security, also not new. What's missing? Security at the data layer. It seems to be the forgotten layer, and we're here to solve that problem. So what if you took all the security software and solutions at each of these layers and added a new layer of security, and then you orchestrated all of the layers to coordinate the active defense of your data? What would that look like? And again, that's the point of this conversation. We're going to talk through the how do you do that, and what are the benefits by doing that operationally. And I use the word operations. Operationally, you need to get really good at orchestrating across all your layers. That's how you're going to be successful.
So looks like we have our first poll question. So the question is, with respect to ransomware, what concerns you the most about getting hit? So the options are data loss and service unavailability, data loss, data unavailability. Is it slow recovery times? Is it the financial impact from both an operational standpoint, maybe from a ransomware payout standpoint, anything that goes along with financial impact? And lastly, reputational damage. Maybe your reputation as an admin, as an IT director, as a VP. Maybe it's the reputation of your business. Nobody wants to be in the headlines. So I'm watching some of the responses come in here.
Go ahead and share those. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Unsurprisingly, is it sharing, Eloy?
It is not at the moment.
Oh, it's not? Okay, let me try again.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So unsurprisingly, data loss reigns supreme. I guess I am a little surprised about recovery time not being more prevalent than it is. But
yeah,
what do you guys think?
I am as well. I thought those two would be in a tie. But it's good to see that those that are joining a storage-based webinar care about the data. That's good. But yeah, recovery time. I would have thought that would have mattered more.
Reputational damage is one that's often overlooked, but that's probably the most damning one out of them all, and that is like irrecoverable reputational damage. That's not being able to transact any sort of business anymore for your organization. That's a tough one. I'm glad it got some attention.
Excellent. So thank you all for your participation. And we do have one more poll question. So with respect to protecting your data, which we've now brushed upon and talk about the need for protection at the data layer, as Andrew was taking us through. What aspect of data protection from this list are you more concerned about? Is it more about, I want to know when I'm hit, I want to know what's impacted? Is it more about the detection? Is it more about, oh, I know my data is protected, I back up my data, protect my data, but is it the recovery? Maybe you have too much, or maybe you have, slow bandwidth, or maybe you're using tapes and you're worried about the, moving data from point B back to point A. Or maybe it's, you have a storage team and a network team and a security team and a network operations team, and they all use different tools. Is it more about ensuring that all teams are, on high alert and that they know what the impact is and how to respond? Is it integration with those sort of tools? Or is it having the visibility into these operations, like being able to talk about the who, what, when, where, and how, like monitoring operations? So I'm going to share the results on that.
Yeah, interesting to see the tie between detection and recovery speed, right? I think for many of us on the vendor side, our argument would be that the faster and more effectively you can detect, the faster you can recover, right? So, it's going to be part of the conversation we're going to have today. Certainly from a VAST perspective, we're very good at the recovery speed piece of it, but I think that the focus on today's conversation is really going to be on early detection and blast radius minimization, so that your recovery is also fast in that aspect.
Yeah,
All right.
integration with security tools actually being as low as it is interesting as well. I think that'll change. I'd like to see this poll again in 1 year's time, but I think a lot of folks don't consider the power of integrations and what that does in actually leading to quicker detections by alerting other teams simultaneously, and also leading to quicker recovery speed. So we got some content coming up that touches on some of the integrations that we're working on. So pretty interesting stat there.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for taking a moment to answer our second poll. All right, so moving right along.
Yeah, so I've been using the word cyber storage. I did not invent that. It is a phrase, a segment of the market in security that Gartner has tracked. And they did this 2 years ago. And Superna is part of this cyber storage segment that's tracked. What's important about it, it's a recognition that the security ecosystem has not addressed one of the most important layers of the infrastructure that stores your data. And so they define it as a way to provide active defense in order to detect early an attack that's in progress and take action against the attacker, ultimately with the goal of protecting the data through snapshots, aiding in the ability to recover the data, and completing the entire life cycle of detect, respond, and recover. So now that this is being tracked, it allows more attention at the importance of protecting your data at the data layer. And we'll be referring to cyber storage throughout the slides. So it's important to understand what that is, but this is a now recognized area of security that needs solutions, and you should consider this as a core component of your overall cyber storage or cyber investment. So when it comes to the integrated response, I want to come back to that poll. The goal is obviously to protect the data. We could assume one scenario where the data platform detects the anomaly first, but in many cases, other security tools have indicators of compromise, or I'll call it an IOC. It could be endpoint protection. It could be a spam phishing gateway. There could be indicators of an attack from many other security tools. Imagine a phishing alert where the user's credentials get phished and they're compromised. That might be known to the security tools long before the attack is launched. If the security tools and platforms have the ability to protect the data, with an integrated response, you could generate proactive snapshots and possibly lock out the user from the data who's been phished. You may very well protect the attack completely by extending the value of cyber storage into the security tools through integrations. So this is about getting information into the tools that are being monitored by security professionals that may have early indications of an attack, and their job is to help protect the data. Cyber storage is a way to extend that protection into the security layer so that early indications like phishing, spam, gateways, or other tools that have early indications of a problem, they can get those critical snapshots in place. They can fence the users off the storage. And so this strategy is all about getting bidirectional information. Let the storage inform the security tools of a problem. Let the security professionals act on the storage layer without understanding the storage layer in a way that they can protect the data. So the idea is to get bidirectional integration into the security tools of your SIEM, your SOAR, and organizationally allow the security team to help participate in data protection. So that's ultimately the goal of the integration strategy. So what information does the storage layer have that the security tools need? The usernames, the list of infected files, list of SMB shares or NFS exports, list of snapshots, and vital is the IP address of the affected machine. That's information that the storage layer security has and can provide into the security layer. So now if I'm a security operations person, I can go out to that endpoint and isolate it from the network proactively. I can't do that if I don't have an IP address. If I have a username in my phishing software, then what do I do with that? Well, I could disable their AD account, but that doesn't protect your storage. So this is a list of critical things that only the storage layer can provide into the security infrastructure so that SecOps can make a better decision as what to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andrew. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to show a video demo, and I'll speak over the demo, just kind of give you a voiceover live on what you're seeing and how the solution comes together as a cohesive platform to help engage storage teams and security teams, connect those teams together. As we mentioned in the previous slide, storage and security teams have plenty of tools to look at. And the idea here is to not introduce more tools, but actually to aggregate all of that critical information that Andrew outlined into the security tool so that teams can coordinate together and have a coordinated response to security events. So we'll start the demo off. This is our data security edition being demonstrated live on a VAST platform. So what you're going to see is a simulated attack, identification, and an automated response to a security event. And we'll also see the rapid and precision recovery of that event in this demonstration. We have a number of components that are going to be in the demonstration. Of course, we're going to have the VAST data engine being protected by Superna. It will be hosting an SMB department share that users are going to be connecting to. We're also going to have our security data edition present. We have a live tool, a live ransomware simulator that you'll see here, and it'll launch an attack against that SMB share that we have hosted. And then we're going to use ServiceNow in this demonstration as a part of an integration to demonstrate the power of integrating security events directly from the storage layer into your incident response tool. So pre-attack, we've got a number of users accessing the VAST data through SMB shares. Superna is protecting the platform. A bad actor comes in and launches an email campaign against the users, and one of the users clicks on the email and then becomes compromised. And now the ransomware strain can assume the identity of the user and begin attacking the storage as the user. But fortunately, in this case, the platform is being protected by Superna. Here's our ransomware simulator. It's going to launch an attack, and we're going to see some red on department share 3. This is the attacker actually going after department share 3. And here's a live view of what that file share would look like. If you were looking at it, you would see these files being encrypted and replaced with locky files in this particular case. If you're fortunate enough to be sitting around, then maybe you can pick up the phone or send a Slack message to your security team. But we don't rely on that with our solution. It's an automated attack, and we believe that the best defense to an automated attack is an automated response. So our software is able to detect this event. We see a warning here raised in our software. And when it does detect the event, we create a defensive snapshot against the share that's under attack or the view that's under attack. And optionally, we can also automatically lock the user out, because in the audit stream, we can see the user's source IP address, their username, the path that they're attacking. So we can take some defensive actions against that. And simultaneously, what we're going to do is we're going to send a message into Slack. We're going to alert some members on Slack, but then we're also going to create a ServiceNow incident. So as the demo progresses, we'll see on the VAST data platform that the share that was under attack, we're going to take a look at the view and the view policy, and you'll see that we locked the user out, not in Active Directory, but we locked them out directly on the platform itself. So we added a rule to block out that particular user. We also created a ServiceNow incident. So you can see within the incident that initially, while there was some burrowing going on, we created a priority 3 incident. But then as the burrowing event continued, we actually escalated that to a priority 1 security event and have alerted all of the teams necessary. Now that the teams have been alerted, they can automatically begin or just start a sidebar discussion on the actual incident. They can add in necessary members and have those members deployed and go to investigate the host that's under attack. We have the source IP address, and we can use queries into the networking infrastructure to figure out exactly where that host is. We deploy the InfoSec team into the environment. One team member might look at the network. Another one is the storage team member who's looking at the storage platform. And then a third might be investigating the actual endpoint. So the team actually conducts their investigation. This is the first time actually that we're able to ever have a coordinated security incident response based on a storage event, which is very new to the industry and very new to the concept of cyber storage. Here we have the storage administrator looking at the Superna Security Edition interface. This is the ransomware defense. And they're linking the ServiceNow incident to the investigation that's going on. So we can leave notes in our event database here. And if you notice at the top of the screen, we can see the actual user that's locked out, their state, and exactly when they were locked out of the storage platform. So now as we go on, the security team has given the all clear on the actual endpoint that was under attack. Maybe they replaced the laptop or cleared out the malware. They send a message into the storage team who says that security team is finished, and now we can restore access to that particular user. It's important to note that, though, with our latest release, we can actually unlock the user right from the incident response platform. So that's a new feature that we added. The team continues to collaborate and is now given the all clear on access being restored. And now we can actually get about restoring data. So Superna Security Edition has a built-in recovery manager. What we're going to see now is we're going to mark this incident as recovered, and we're going to launch our recovery manager. What the recovery manager does is it takes a look at the audit history leading up to the compelling event, as well as what happened after, and it can combine data restoration using production snapshots that are already in place, as well as the snapshot that we created as a result of that compelling event that we saw as a ransomware event. This allows us to only restore the files that were impacted by the event. So while the user was locked out, other users were continuing to work. There was no disruption to business. The individual user was picked off and discriminated against and locked out against. And now that we're restoring, we don't want to restore the whole share because other users were being productive during the incident. So we're very careful at only restoring the files that were touched by the user. And this is what we call surgical and precision recovery. It really speeds up the recovery and incident response time, but then it also protects your business against loss of productivity as a result of restores. And we're looking at the share again live. This is during the Cyber Recovery Manager working. You'll see the Locky files being replaced by the actual files that happened before the event. And it's actually important to note as well that the Locky files, the files that were corrupted, we actually copy those into a quarantine. So those get put into quarantine so the security team can continue any other investigations that they need to while we recover the files that were actually damaged during the event. And now we've fully recovered from the event. The team closes off on the incident, closes it, and then business carries on. And that's the end of this demonstration.
Hey, Derek. All right, guys. So that we covered a couple of different points in that demo, right? We showed how to minimize service interruption. All of the other services were still maintained while that happened, while the incident happened, and we also minimized data loss, right? We were very selective as to, assuming normal business was still continuing while that threat was going on, we were very selective in minimizing as much, the data loss as much as possible. So part of this comes down to, obviously there's a couple of different ways to do this. So specifically, why VAST, right? How does VAST capabilities with Superna provide the best of breed solution for this problem space? The reality is the problem space is a ever expanding scenario, right? With the advent of AI, there are many AI generated threats that are now getting created. And so what you need, to counter that approach is a AI and ML based approach that is able to keep up with the number of new threats and the new inventive approaches that the attackers come up with every day. Now, specifically when it comes to VAST, one of the unique aspects of what VAST can do is we have this concept of a data catalog, right? And the VAST catalog enables a product like Superna to understand the activities going on across billions of files, across exabytes of capacity, with a relatively lightweight platform on their side, right? So Superna is able to focus on the behavioral analytics, right? Never having to ever open a file or actually, sit in line with the operation somebody is doing. Superna is able to leverage the VAST catalog, which stores not only an inventory of the files and objects in the environment, but also the behavioral activities, right? When was the file last accessed? When was it updated? How long do people typically open a file for? These are all sort of fingerprints and signatures that enable Superna to detect abnormal behavior, once again, without having to have a very heavy platform that has to sit in line and analyze every operation in real time, right? So together, VAST and Superna enable the data security aspects, And those data security aspects build on top of the foundational capabilities available through Superna, right? So the disaster recovery capabilities that VAST and Superna have on our platform, as well as the data migration capabilities, really provide a fully integrated solution that covers all of the bases when it comes to what customers are looking for from a cyber storage platform. And as we kind of talked about, one of the keys here is that we do integrate into those security platforms, right? As one of the slides said previously, the last thing any customer wants, especially the security team, wants is yet another pane of glass to look at, right? So one of the key things here is that the data-related activities, not only does the integration enable essentially a relative autopilot of sorts, right? Where this platform is passively monitoring, reacting to threats without needing any human intervention, as you saw in Derek's demo. But most importantly, these are the indicators that are coming from the data platform are being integrated through Superna into the overall security solution that you or your customers are leveraging, right? And so this is very important. Once again, going back to all of the different threat vectors that we see out there and new and emerging threat approaches, making sure that the data from the endpoint, the data from the network side, the data from the application side, as well as the data layer itself, all of those indicators are being correlated in a single location, right? And that is what these integrations enable.
That's a good point. Just to touch on that 1 second, is that as events flow into a security tool, storage is one layer, but there's many layers of events, and something needs to correlate. And correlation happens best if the source IP address and the user are provided. Those are the two most valuable things to help those security tools take events from multiple areas of the infrastructure and then group them together as a single incident. So just highlighting that user and IP are vital for that correlation to happen.
All right. So we did notice on the previous poll that the tools wasn't necessarily the priority, right? As somebody mentioned, we probably have a more data-centric audience given our brand. But do you know what tools for your folks are using, right? What tools are you relying on today to SIEM, SOAR, et cetera, to understand what's going on in the environment? And I think one of the areas we'll see, sort of an uptick in is frankly more correlation-based tools. I think, some of the tools that are on the screen here today come from a more, sort of log analysis and that type of a heritage. And I think we're going to see sort of an abstraction that emerges in the security tool space over the next couple of years, especially as AI and ML start to become more prevalent. All right. Perhaps not surprisingly, I think Splunk's a winner, although other is up there as well. So maybe if you guys wouldn't mind putting into the Q&A what the other is that you are using, that would be certainly interesting for us on both sides, on the VAST and Superna side. We are really keen to make sure that we are meeting you and supporting your tools, and that this integration doesn't prompt a new integration for you. All right. Let's move along. All right, so we've talked about this a little bit. We'll say just one more point on this, right? So really, SOAR integrated cyber storage response. That's the key here, right? Enabled by Superna Zero Trust playbooks. So people don't need to log into Superna to be able to do this work, right? We're kind of going along the theme here. We talked about it a couple of times. We really want to enable your security ops teams in the tools they are using to be able to respond to threats, regardless of where the threat is taking place, right? So these playbooks that are being integrated and have been integrated and more are being integrated into the SOAR integrated cyber storage solution are really all about empowering your SOC, empowering your security operations folks to be able to react to these threat indicators without having to log into, without having to log into VAST, without having to log into Superna. They can do everything from the tools that they are most comfortable with. All right, going to take a few minutes to talk about not only using AI and ML as a threat detection approach, right, which is what we are showcasing here. But I want to talk for a second as your business transforms to being an AI-enabled business, and you are using AI to create various service offerings or to drive innovation within your platform. What are the risks that are now introduced by the proliferation of AI, right? Just like automation, for the bad actors in the room, all automation did was just make their attacks faster, right? They could do more things faster. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, AI is the same thing, right? Not only are you and your customers using AI to do innovation within your company, the bad actors are using AI to come up with innovative attacks against you. Let's kind of walk through the life cycle here really quickly. So obviously, the best place to attack an AI pipeline is in the data that's being fed into it. AI models are in some ways, and ML models are in some ways driven by the propensity of data and behaviors. And so if you can upfront inject false data, synthetic data that makes the behavior of the natural system skewed, then you can go ahead and essentially truly skew the behavior of the system by having the model behave in a manner that it thought was influenced by the data. When it comes to model training and evaluation itself, obviously the model can be tampered with during the training process, either slowed down, right? If you're doing training and fine tuning, injected and manipulated in a way that forces models not to converge, or perhaps converge prematurely. And then the biggest aspect, right, by far, is on the inference side, right? Once these models are deployed, bad actors are going to come up with, in an unimaginable number of ways, to try and extract source data or data they wouldn't otherwise have access to, right? Because these models are not only being trained and fine-tuned on your data, but they're also typically tied into some sort of a retrieval system that is going to enable you to either take, dense data sets like vector databases or sparse data sets like, structured data, and expose that through the AI system. Well, the bad actors are going to try and use that AI system to get access to information that they weren't otherwise able to get access to by compromising the inference layer. Next slide. So what can we do about it, right? At the end of the day, there are a few aspects that, we've already touched on, but I think become especially important in the realm of AI, right? So first of all, it starts with generating anomalous data and access behavior, right? For example, a very simple one. If you're not using synthetic data today in your model training, and all of a sudden synthetic data starts showing up in your source repositories that are being used, that's a big red flag, right? And it's a very, very easy one, frankly, because most folks are not using synthetic data today, right? Data that seems highly repetitive or behaviors that seem highly pre-planned, right? That you're seeing all of a sudden each model is having the same type of inputs inputted into it at the exact same times. Those are all things that we can actually fingerprint and detect the anomalous behavior. Once again, the important thing here being is without actually having to sit in the data path, right? We're able to detect these things by observing the interactions with the VAST data platform by the external actors. Certainly immutable copies, right? And having a solid versioning track of what data was trained, was used for the training, how was that training data prepared, what was, what models relied on which data. So having that audit trail and that ability to go ahead and replay back to a previous instance of the model. One of the really important things about the VAST Data platform when it comes to inference is that we not only keep track of an audit trail of the data access, but in many cases, the inference platform itself is using VAST's database capability to store the prompts and responses, right? So something we can do, something the SOC can do with an integration like Superna, is they can go ahead and identify, if they see suspicious behavior, they can very easily replay a set of responses that the model would have provided, say, a few months back, compare the responses that were stored in the record to the responses the model is now providing, and easily understand, hey, is that my model still behaving the way we would expect it to behave, right? So lot of room for, unfortunately, a lot of room for new attacks, but also a lot of joint innovation that VAST and Superna are doing to really kind of address this new attack surface that's emerging.
This is our cyber threat orchestration slide. Now, historically, this was our launch product. It's the disaster recovery orchestration product. Normally, you're building up storage at one site, and you want to make it, you want to protect it, and you want to have it highly available at another site in case there's a site failure or some other incident. So you have to fail over from one location to another. What we do with this solution is we collect all of the configuration data and information from the primary cluster. We do this at configurable intervals. So we're picking up the information and storing it in a configuration database. And then we're able to actually apply that data in the event of a planned or an unplanned failover. So there are situations where you want to test your failover capabilities. You want to run a simulation of failing data over from one location to another. Normally that involves a number of steps, quite manual. A disaster recovery playbook is what it's normally referred to. This is where folks will write down all of the configuration changes into a playbook. And then hopefully when you're failing over, that playbook is up to date, there are no errors in it. And then you apply those configurations to get the configuration set up on the DR side. Once that's completed without the disaster recovery orchestration layer that we offer, you would have to normally contact DNS teams to help switch clients over from one site to another. We offer a solution here that automates all of those manual steps, and it takes a lot of the stress away from storage administrators in the event of a physical site failure, some sort of a network issue, and now more frequently, cyber events. So something has happened at one of your sites and you want to just get your clients redirected over to another site where the data has been replicated to. You can employ the disaster recovery orchestration layer or the cyber threat orchestration layer to fail over traffic from one site to another, completely automated, many steps run in parallel, so it happens faster, and you don't have to involve as many teams as you would normally have to do that. All the while the software is running, we're doing continuous failover assessments as well. So we can do simulated failovers of non-production data and alert you on any issues that you might have in your environment that would make a real live failover go poorly. So we can rule out any of those issues in advance. The theory is why wait until you have an actual failover requirement before finding out whether or not you have some issues. We run that assessment for you and provide RTO reporting as well. So very powerful tool, very handy for physical site network cyber threat failovers. And it's quite automated and it takes the stress away from failover events.
Great.
Nice.
So Andrew, Derek, Niloy, that was awesome. That was information packed. I love the demo. I love the slides. I love the storyline. I've seen a bunch of questions come in to Q&A, most of which have been answered. I mean, generally during this time, we like to open it up for additional questions. I do see one remaining question. So it looks like we do still have some time to answer another question or two. So this question is, are you able to recover to and from the public cloud? Are you able to recover to and from the public cloud?
We have an orchestration product that can do file to object and make offsite copies. So that would be no different really than a backup use case. What do you need to restore data from an offsite copy of your data? You need the list of files with the dates that they were affected. So we have a way to download a CSV that gives you all the affected files, including files that were touched or interacted with an hour before the incident. You can take that and use that with any backup software, including offsite backups in the cloud. Our automated recovery capabilities are built around snapshots on the storage device. So the only time, and those are immutable in the case of VAST. So the only time we would actually need to go outside the array is if the snapshot was gone and expired. Given the ability to store the snapshots efficiently, that would probably be a rare scenario. But in any event, we still give you the list of files that if for some reason the snapshots don't contain the data that you need for restore purposes, you can take that list and go off to any offsite backup tool that's or any tool that's backing up your data with a catalog. So we would suggest that would be the option.
There are several approaches, right? So from a VAST standpoint, we do run in the public cloud. We also have a S3 bucket integration that we can take data that sits on the VAST platform and offload it through an S3 bucket. So there are several approaches, right? As Andrew kind of said, it's not today a sort of push button, pre-canned playbook or integration. It is more of a architecture where we will we'll work with you, determine your objectives. But there are certainly options to leverage public cloud if you're using public cloud for DR or a third site type scenario. There are certainly options on how we could help automate that.
Thank you. And coincidentally, looks like we have two people asking very, very similar questions. I'm astounded. The question is, well, looks like one may have been answered.
Andrew's busy typing away here in the background while I was talking.
Your offering? Oh, sorry. The question was, does your offering work? Does this offering work in an air-gapped off-internet location, such as a classified space, SCADA networks, etc.? And we also have another question, which is basically a different version of that. So, does your solution work in air-gapped isolated networks?
So, we have building blocks where customers can integrate our intelligence to any data replication strategy. So, our Zero Trust API, I'll give you an example with our own product. Our own product that does data orchestration, it checks with the security software first to see, is it safe for me to replicate my data? If it's not safe, then our orchestration product stops replicating. That's not an air gap per se, but what I'm suggesting is that we have the building blocks where if you're replicating your data anywhere or to the cloud, that you can leverage our Zero Trust capability to get intelligent data orchestration decision-making in your own solutions. So if you are doing an offsite copy of your data somehow, we have the ability to integrate with our API so that you can make better decisions as when it's okay to replicate or not replicate. So, so we have the infrastructure to assist with a solution that might be needed to make an offline or internet-based copy of your data. KVM.
I think one of the unique aspects of VAST compared to some of the other approaches that you'll see out there is we have this concept of a protected path. And that protected path can have many different flavors to it. It can be used for replication. It can be used for sending it to an S3 bucket. It can be exposed via global namespace. So, you know, once again, as Andrew is kind of saying, right, depending on what you're trying to do, and you'll even see in the chat kind of different takes on the air gap question, right? Depending on what you're trying to do, you know, and whether everything is air gap, whether certain components are being, you know, put into an air gapped environment in a one-way fashion, there's many different approaches that we see out there. So that's certainly one where we have to solution with you to achieve your outcomes, your desired outcomes.
All right, we have another question from a hypervisor standpoint. Does
Yeah,
your
I think-
solution support KVM?
Derek, you want to go ahead and answer that live?
Yeah, I guess I was just typing that one up, but yeah, we've done other ones in the past like Proxmox and Red Hat. Now, our support team will work with you to get into vSphere and Hyper-V. We distribute our virtual machines as OVAs, which can be converted to other hypervisors as well.
Great, that's wonderful. Looks like there are currently no outstanding questions, but please don't perceive that to mean that you no longer have an opportunity to engage with us or ask us questions or give us feedback. So after this event, you will see a survey pop up. All right, so just please take a moment, and I think there is an open text form if you want to give us feedback, if you want to request a more intimate one-on-one discussion, you want to see a demo, you want to talk about additional use cases, please reach out to us. You can also scan the QR code if you want to access the survey now. And also post-event, you will be receiving an email with a link to the survey. So don't stress out if you didn't capture the screen or you don't see it pop up, so don't worry about that. But lastly, I wanted to thank everyone for joining. I'm thrilled with the level of engagement and the level of depth of the session. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all have wonderful days. And I just wanted to say to Andrew, Derek, and the extended Superna team, thank you so much for your partnership and for your support on this webinar today. And as always, Niloy, thank you so much. You did an excellent job. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Thanks a lot. Our
Thanks, guys.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks a lot. It's been great.
Have a great day.